Hi, everybody. I'm Traven Rice, and this is the Lowdown Culture Cast. And we're talking to all types of culture changers downtown and specifically in the Lower East Side. And we are here today at P&T. We're on a hot summer day on Orchard Street. It's officially over 100 degrees. I'm really excited to be talking with Ali Rosa-Salas today. Hi, Ali.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Ali Rosa-Salas is coming to us from Henry Street in the Abrons Art Center, and she's a curator whose approach is rooted in the belief that curatorial practice must serve the public good. She finds inspiration from the cultural ecosystems of New York City, where she was born and raised. And for over a decade, Ali has served New York City arts and culture primarily through curatorial projects in live performance. Currently, Ali is the Vice President of Visual and Performing Arts of Abrons Art Center at Henry Street Settlement, the only cultural organization in New York City that is part of a social services agency. And from 2020 to 2023, she served as an Associate Curator of the Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival. And I'm just interested in hearing all about your journey at Abrons, because I know it's been a while. We've been avidly covering what we could and watching all the fun stuff that's going on at Abrons since we started in 2009.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a lot of history, a lot to have seen all those years ago to today. We've been around for a minute, just like the Lowdown.
You definitely got the Lowdown beat there. But how did you end up at Abrons?
It's a great question. I ended up at Abrons in a few weeks. It'll be my 8-year anniversary.
Congrats.
Which, saying out loud, is it does feel like a lot of time and a lot of history to be at a single organization. And I always joke with people, it's like where I grew up. In a way, like it's been a really transformative place for me personally and professionally. And I think for a lot of people who've come through our doors, it's like served that same purpose. So I feel really blessed to have been there for so long and have the opportunity to learn. And I came to the organization as an independent curator, working primarily in live performance, also visual art. But my predecessor, Craig Peterson, was looking to restructure the organization when he arrived to the art center, and to bring, a curatorial voice that was focused in performance that could really envision a new identity for the programming. And so I guess I was aligned with those qualifications because I got the job as the performance curator, and then my role has evolved since then.
Yeah. I think for those people that don't know, there are people that haven't heard of Abrons or the Henry Street settlement. And I think we should explain, because that's a really interesting fact. I didn't realize it was the only cultural organization that is part of a social services agency. So we should kind of explain what that structure is and the history just a little bit.
Absolutely. So the Abrons Art Center is the cultural pillar, arts and cultural pillar of the Henry Street Settlement, which is a social services agency that has existed on the Lower East Side since 1893. And is an iconic, transformative, incredibly important, groundbreaking service organization. In a lot of ways, really defined like contemporary approaches to what do we even understand social service to be in this country. Things that we take for granted, like the idea of having school nurses, the idea of having playgrounds, the idea of just so many. I could go on and on. But our founder, Lillian Wald, was a nurse rooted in this neighborhood, super inspired to serve and to be of service to newly arrived New Yorkers on this street. I mean, these were her stomping grounds, like on Orchard Street. Like, this is where so much was happening. So I'm sure she walked by us so many times where we are right now.
Yeah.
And so she comes from this like nurse practitioner perspective, but her understanding of like what well-being means or meant was always so interdisciplinary. She really believed deeply in the role of arts and culture in personal and community well-being. And so ever since she started the settlement, it wasn't only like medical care that she was providing, but there were also music classes, visual arts classes. And so that's always been at the core of the mission, was that arts and culture is an integral part of like personal and community wellness. And so, but in 1915, we established the Playhouse Theater, which is a National Historic Landmark. And then in 1975, that expanded to encompass another facility connected, where we do exhibitions, more performance, arts education. So the agency has continued to invest in arts and culture as a core part of its mission over the 130 plus years it's existed. So, but it is a unique mission. Yeah.
Sure. And that's been 50 years, which is no small feat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Especially in this climate of how arts and culture is resourced in this country, we are elder in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to know there's been sort of this linchpin of creativity serving the community, for that long. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And when you say your approach to curating live, events and performance is rooted in the belief that it should serve the public good, what does that mean?
When I say that, I think hearkening back to Wald's vision of a dignified existence on this earth while we have the privilege of being here. Like, what does that include? And I think access to shelter, access to food, access to the opportunity to learn. And within all of that within all of those needs of our species, creativity and artistry is just so deeply embedded in each of those human needs. And so, it could be argued if any of those needs are being met today, by the powers that be. But I do believe just as we see shelter, education, and those sorts of services as being a public good, part of the infrastructure that needs to be invested in, I believe the same as arts and culture is a resource. It's a part of how we understand what it is that makes us who we are personally and part of a community, and it should be resourced as such.
Mm-hmm. And there are multiple programs, I would say, that you are overseeing at Abrons. And so it runs from classes, for all different ages, all the way up to, live performance, and you have residents. What all are you currently kind of overseeing?
Yeah, there's if I was to describe Abrons in our programmatic pillars on the ways in which we are, desiring to have an impact, would be through our programming and residencies. We program 2 seasons a year of live performance and visual art exhibitions at the Art Center. And many of those projects that we present are cultivated, stewarded, developed through our residency programs. So we do open call residency initiatives that provide the opportunity for New York City-based artists to apply and engage with our team on developing a project over the course of a year to plus.
And it's a variety of work, type of artist.
Yeah, a variety of type of artists. We have a series of residency programs. So we have a residency program for performing artists, for visual artists, for visual art curators. So it really does, in terms of discipline, in that sense, is expensive. But I would say what the work is doing, I would say Abrons is definitely known for encouraging and supporting and enabling creative risk, artists who are not necessarily are interested in arts for art's sake, but like believe that their work is contributing to a conversation, is the conversation, is very topical to what's happening in our country and world. So that's one orientation we have in terms of like what we do. And then arts education, as you mentioned, we provide classes for learners at all ages and stages of their growth in all disciplines, visual and performing arts, and theater on our campus, or at the Art Center. The Henry Street is our campus, but then we do classes all across the settlement, and with Lower East Side Public Schools as well. So our arts education programming extends beyond our walls. So that's another way that we support and engage creatively. And then finally, like access to our space. We have a 40,000 square foot facility that is so unique to have that much space. And so we really privilege access to it through our studio and theater rental program as like another artist services component to our work. So folks are doing all sorts of things, developing their projects on their own in our spaces as well.
Yes, that's a lot.
Yeah, I always say it's a lot of house. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. When it comes to, you're sort of talking about the mission of the artists that you support and curate, as far as being the conversation or sort of, I would say, talking about the world today. Could you give us some examples? What type of things, themes, or I would say boundaries or old patterns do you feel that are most prevalent that you guys are pushing up against?
I think like a hum or an undercurrent of the artists that we're working with, because the nature of the scope of our curatorial focus and residency programs is primarily on artists who are based in New York City, so they're living here, working here, and a lot of whom are from here. So I think an undercurrent is a bit of an existential question around like, where's the city going? Where's my place in it? Questions about like labor and artistry in relationship to labor. I think that that's just part of a larger conversation that's happening in this country, as it connects to like the value of art as work. So I think that that's definitely just an undercurrent, not only in the content of the work, but how we're making it and the values between like us as an organization and the artists that we're collaborating with. Like that's always in the room. And I would say too, like this notion of discipline of like, is it dance? Is it theater? Is it music? Is it visual art? Like I think that artists who are attracted to working at Abrons see us as a place where that's not really our concern of like, tell me what it is. Like we're actually excited by like, what is it? And so I'm grateful that we have an incredible team that can hold that. Like, what is it? What, and it to be like the first place where you're trying something that's a bit out of your comfort zone. And it's like just an incredibly brave place to be. So I think that's another sort of way of working. This anti-disciplinary term is kind of popular right now, which I don't know how I feel about it, but definitely like disciplinary agnostic maybe is what I would say.
That just sort of in layman's terms would mean not wanting to be defined
Exactly.
a particular category.
Right. Like, don't put me in a box, you know? And we're like, okay.
Yeah. But with your background in curating live performance, what does that what does that mean? Because I think that most people understand the idea of curating a gallery show or an art exhibit or even a festival. But when you're deciding on live performance, what does that look like?
Yeah, I say that because as an artist and in my training as an artist, I come from a background of dance and music and engaging live performance in that way. So in movement and in sound are like where my own like creative perhaps like roots are and my technical training is in. I would say artistically my practice is in curation. It's transitioned into that, but it's deeply informed by my embodied experiences as a performer and as a musician. And so when I say I am curating live performance at the Art Center, we have a fall and a spring season, and it's my responsibility to be like, okay, well, like, what are we doing? And of course that decision is never made in a silo. It's deeply collaborative, but I do think one of my chief responsibilities in this role is to really think about, okay, like what story are we telling about like the world we want to be living in, the values we want to be holding dear, the conversations we want to be having, and who are the artists who are having those conversations, and so how are we utilizing our resource to support those? Yeah.
Well, I know that the title was or used to be artistic director. And how do you see it as something different than that?
Well, now I'm not only thinking about, in addition to what I'm thinking about, like is happening on our stages and in our galleries, I'm also thinking about, well, how is that connecting with what's happening in our classrooms? How is that connecting to how our studio spaces are being utilized for rehearsals? How is any of this being resourced? How can we, be in more of a place of abundance financially? So it's just the aperture has widened in this role.
I see. Yeah. But that artistic director part of it is still definitely there.
It's still there. And why the title is Vice President of Visual and Performing Arts is because, and why I kept it that way and why it's very confusing to folks who don't understand Henry Street, is because it necessitates me explaining that Abrons Art Center is a program of the Henry Street Settlement. And so, it just provides an opportunity for me to do that work, I guess. Yeah.
On top of it or within it or.
Yeah, within it, like we are not our own 501c3. We are the Henry Street Settlement. Our program just happens to have a 40,000 square foot facility and this institutional identity that's also very distinct in the arts and culture landscape, I suppose.
Yeah. And then you still have time to associate, curate dance festivals.
That was a really great experience. I did it for 3 years at the Pillow, and it certainly was, a really good challenge, and it really helped me learn a lot about my own voice. And I don't know if you've been to the Pillow, but it's a rural. Yeah. It's in Western Mass in the Berkshires. It's a very rural context. It had been my first time really thinking about, for one, dance, because the nature of what I do at Abrons is so, multidisciplinary that it was a great opportunity for me to really kind of, in a way, like return to my roots, but also like help me think about how much my practice is like rooted in my lived experience as a New Yorker. And so it's like being in a rural context like the Pill, that's also a legacy organization, like the settlement. I think they hold a lot of weight. It's like, how do you engage with that history from your subjectivity? So it's cool to do that in that context. And I take a lot of those lessons with me here.
We were at a little while ago, you guys had a symposium with a theme that I think has always been a theme here in New York, but it seems to be very, very much in everybody's mind, which was, can artists survive in New York anymore? I mean, that's always been the question, but I feel that it's really accelerated and become, almost crisis. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
What are my thoughts? My thoughts are infinite. There's more thoughts every second about it. There's an infinite well of consideration. I think coming back to what I was saying, how it's like always in the room with us and informing our values as an organization, as cultural workers. It is an existential question. I try not to have many things keep me up at night because I really do believe sleep is incredibly important and like really value 8, maybe 9 hours if I'm lucky. But if there was to be anything that would keep me up, it's like, wow, like, where is everyone going to be okay staying here?
Yeah.
And how are we going to do that and not have it feel like a grind? And what's my role in knowing that affordability, cost of living, that these are systemic, structural issues, emergencies, I guess I would say, that are beyond me, yet where is my place and opportunity for intervention as a cultural worker to provide a platform, to allocate resources. And so I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to be part of an organization like the Henry Street Settlement, like the Art Center, which when our 1975 building opened was called the Arts for Living Center, which I think is just such a profound testimony to the belief and the role of arts and culture in like what I was saying earlier is like as being fundamental to our holistic well-being. So I come back to that as maybe my guiding sort of principle when I have those moments of like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? Like, I think creativity is such a superpower. We find a way, and we have the history, at least at the Art Center, of really brave, really courageous work being done, speaking to these very issues. So I have that grounding me as well as I look ahead to the future, which could be a bit uneasy.
Yeah. Sure, for all of us in all different ways. But yeah, I mean, since I've been here, and it's been over 20 years, it's really gotten harder and harder from what I can see. And the history of coming here, young and fresh-faced out of school, which it always has been the history, to me is what I'm like, is this still going to be a thing? And I just don't know. But where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, that hasn't changed. And the constraints, do always actually end up supporting creativity. But it's nice to know that you guys are there. I'm sure you're facing a lot of these challenges.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and we're not alone, of course, in our peers and just the challenges with, yeah, just like a fundamental lack of support and value in arts and culture in this country. So I feel grateful for that to be the frame already. And I think that that's really where the change is going to happen, is understanding like the thatching, I guess, among like all of these issues and how we need to be interdependent in solving them.
So can you offer and share some examples of work and shows and things that you've, curated recently and that are on the horizon that you would say kind of focus on all of these themes that we're talking about?
Absolutely. There's so much, and I feel really excited by where Abrons is in this new iteration, because I feel like it's a really beautiful beginning of a synthesis among the legacy and impact of our programming and residencies and the vital need of what that work is doing and arts education, and not seeing them as two separate initiatives that have their own goals, but really need each other to inform what the goal is and the who is being served. So I think one really great example, and we just ended our spring 2025 season, so I'm in a bit of this reflection mode, is our inaugural exhibition of the opening of our new galleries. We just are at the very, very end of completing a capital construction, which has made our gallery spaces and other key gathering spaces more physically accessible and aesthetically more welcoming. And so our first exhibition of the year was called Long Walk from the F Train. And it was a retrospective of our visual artist residency program that's existed since 1980. Over 200 artists have participated in this residency. So it was a real opportunity for us to reflect back in order to see where we are now and look ahead, and just to witness the breadth and diversity of work that was being created when we were called the Arts for Living Center, when we transitioned to Abrons, and even in this like longitudinal, just like impressive history, what's anchoring the work is this connectivity to the neighborhood, and a real sincere, earnest interest in the artist's role as not only like a creative practitioner, but like as a person in society. So a lot of the work was directly engaging with those questions and in our literal surrounding neighborhood, which was really exciting. And then also connection to arts education. So many of those artists who have now gone on to have illustrious careers were also very deeply rooted in our arts education programming. And so just to kind of witness that lineage and be able to come into an organization and see like, oh, wow, like I'm part of a wave that has been like the momentum has been building for all of these years and I'm just catching it, was really cool and exciting to see. So that was certainly a highlight.
How did you come up with the name?
The name actually came from one of the artists in the exhibition. When he was being interviewed by the curators, he reflected back that one of his like standout memories of the Arts Center is that it was a long walk from the F train. And that was an opportunity for him to really gather his own orientation to the neighborhood and sparked his research for the work that he wound up creating while he was in residence.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what do you have coming up? I know you're going to be calm and quiet over the summer, but I'm sure you're working on the fall season.
There's so much exciting stuff happening. Like I shared just a bit ago, we're finishing this Capitol campaign, which is aligning so brilliantly with the 50th anniversary of the 1975 side of the building. So we're really excited to engage next season as an opportunity to reflect on where we've been and where we're going. And one of the ways that I'm super excited that we're doing that and engaging directly with our neighborhood history is an exhibition that we're producing with the artist Destiny Mata. She's a photographer from the Lower East Side.
She's been on the Lowdown Culture Cast.
Amazing. She's not surprised. She's delightful. And we are producing an iteration of an exhibition and project she's developing called the LES Yearbook. Mm-hmm. And we are going to be exhibiting her photography of the Lower East Side, as well as photography of residents from the Lower East Side that she has gathered the archives of through workshops that she's been engaging. So we're super excited about that and the programming that will be connected to that project. I think it's a really important way to engage not only with Destiny's practice as an artist, but also in like a community of practitioners and archivists and photographers who just have such beautiful work that I'm looking forward to people seeing. And then concluding our fall season with a talent show that in reflection of the 50th, looking to our history while also cultivating and platforming what is new and what's happening live on Grand. So hope you'll join us for that at the end of 2025.
Oh, excellent. That'll be fun.
I think it'll be really fun.
Okay, great. Well, we will keep us posted and, we're always interested in what's happening and letting people know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope folks swing by Grand Street.